Now we will discuss slips of tongue. In psycholinguistics, tongue slips are considered as one kind of speech errors, and they are connected to or related to the process of articulation. According to Surendra Shutter, in his study in 2004, they say that it is a complex mental process which occurs below the level of consciousness. So we are not aware of what factors are there which are responsible for these kind of utterances. When we are speaking with someone and slip of tongue occurs, we are not aware of it before it occurs or before the utterance is made. It was after the word or utterance sounds funny to us that we realize that we have committed this error. Interestingly, somebody who is listening to you, his or her comprehension or inference is not blocked, and he or she can continue listening to you. So therefore, and it happens at such a lightning speed that a person who is committing or uttering these slips or having these slips is difficult for him or her to observe or record those instances. Tongue slips have been named, they are also called Freudian slips because they have been named after Sigmund Freud who is Austrian neurologist. And in his famous publication in 1901, which is the Psychopathology of Everyday Life, he examined and looked at the trivial, bizarre, nonsensical errors and came up with this notion of tongue of slips. So now we will look at the factors which contribute this or which can help us having a further understanding of slips of tongue. So we see that these slip of the tongue are speech errors in which intended utterances are rearranged between other words or sounds. A sound error occurs when the sound in words close by are exchanged. For example, instead of saying flower pot, one says power float. A morpheme error occurs when morphemes, which are smallest meaningful units in language, are switched in words close by. For example, instead of saying self-destruct instruction, one says self-instruct destruction. So that has more to do with the morphemes having close by. Word errors occur when actual words are rearranged. For example, instead of saying reading a book to my dog, one says reading a dog to my book. Error in speech production and perception are also called performance errors. Now, according to Sigmund Freud, slips of the tongue reveal the thoughts and desires of the unconscious mind. These slips of the tongue are also known as parapraxis. Parapraxis. Speech errors are made on an occasional basis by all speakers. They occur more often when speakers are nervous, tired, anxious, or intoxicated. During live broadcasts on TV or on the radio, for example, non-professional speakers and even hosts often make speech errors because they are sometimes under stress or maybe they are going through a phase of excitement. Some speakers seem to be more prone to speech errors than others. For example, there is a certain connection between stuttering and speech error, according to Hockett. He says that whenever a speaker feels some anxiety about possible lapse, he will be led to focus attention more than normally on what he has just said and on what he is just about to say. Slip of the tongue is a normal and common occurrence. One study shows that most people can make up to as much as 22 slips of the tongue per day. Speech errors are common among children who have yet to refine their speech and can frequently continue into adulthood. When errors continue past the age of 9, they are referred to as residual speech errors, RSE. They sometimes lead to embarrassment or maybe betrayal of the speaker's regional or ethnic origin. However, it is also common for them to enter the popular culture as a kind of linguistic flavoring. Sometimes speech errors can be used intentionally for humorous effect, and when this happens, it refers to spoonerism. Which means the engagement or doing of speech errors, making speech errors intentionally for humorous effect, as with the spoonerism, because spoonerism involved the interchanging of initial consonants of two words. It seems probable that errors are more likely to occur below the level of consciousness. Most research, however, has focused less on the factors that may influence the frequency of speech errors than on the nature of the errors themselves.